Good morning, I'm Dan McCleary of Tennessee Shakespeare Company. Welcome back to our DECAMERON Project. The date, May 5. Our theme, patience. On this day, in 1927, Virginia Woolf publishes To the Lighthouse on her Hogarth press, which is a press created not only by her, but with her husband Leonard about 10 years earlier. They had also published prior to this Mrs. Dalloway, and would publish Orlando on it, and other books specifically in the psychoanalytic world and study. It's partly autobiographical. Virginia Woolf was raised going to a summer home and escape along the coast where they would see a lighthouse. And they did so as well in this novel. Here's just a bit, again from a book that was bequeathed us by Dunbar Abston and Connie Abston. It's not quite a first edition, but pretty close, and I read from his book. Again, this is 1927, Virginia Woolf, To the Lighthouse. There wasn't the slightest possible chance that they could go to the lighthouse tomorrow, Mr. Ramsay snapped out irascibly. How did he know, she asked. The wind often changed. The extraordinary irrationality of her remark, the folly of women's minds, enraged him. He had ridden through the valley of death, been shattered and shivered, and now she flew in the face of facts, made his children hope. What was utterly out of the question, in effect, told lies. He stamped his foot on the stone step. Damn you, he said. But what had she said? Simply that it might be fine tomorrow. And so it might. Not with the barometer falling and the wind due west, to pursue truth with such astonishing lack of consideration for other people's feelings, to rend the thin veils of civilization so wantonly, so brutally, was to her so horrible an outrage of human decency that without replying, dazed and blinded, she bent her head as if to let the pelt of jagged hail, the drench of dirty water, besmatter her, unrebuked. There was nothing to be said. He stood by her in silence. Very humbly, at length, he said that he would step over and ask the Coast Guards if she liked. There was nobody whom she reverenced as she reverenced him. Virginia Woolf would then, for the next couple of years, have an extraordinary relationship with another author, and perhaps her contrast in almost every human way, the woman named Vita Sackville-West. And their correspondence is published, and it's quite interesting reading and beautiful writing in their love affair with each other. On January 21, in 1926, Vita Sackville-West writes to Virginia Woolf soon after visiting her. I am reduced to a thing that wants Virginia. I composed a beautiful letter to you in the sleepless nightmare hours of the night, and it is all gone. I just miss you in a quite simple, desperate human way. You, with all your undumb letters, would never write so elementary a phrase as that. Perhaps you wouldn't even feel it. And yet, I believe you'll be sensible of a little gap. But you'd clothe it in so exquisite a phrase that it would lose a little of its reality. Whereas with me it is quite stark. I miss you even more than I could have believed, and I was prepared to miss you a good deal. So this letter is just really a squeal of pain. It is incredible how essential to me you have become. I suppose you are accustomed to people saying these things. Please forgive me for writing such a miserable letter. Virginia. Or rather, Vita, writing to Virginia. Then Virginia briefly writes back to Vita about 5 days later. Your letter from Trieste came this morning, but why do you think I don't feel? Or that I make phrases, lovely phrases, you say, which robs things of reality, just the opposite. Always, always, always I try to say what I feel. Will you then believe that after you went last Tuesday, exactly a week ago, out I went into the slums of Bloomsbury to find a barrel organ? But it did not make me cheerful, and ever since, nothing important has happened. Somehow it's dull and damp. I have been dull. I have missed you. I do miss you. I shall miss you. And if you don't believe it, you're a long-eared owl and ass. Lovely phrases. In 1941, Virginia would take her own life. She left her husband, Leonard, a goodbye letter. She filled her dress with stones and walked into the river. She wasn't a well person, but the beginning of World War II exacerbated the issues. At the end of Antony and Cleopatra, Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, Antony has been, well, successful in his own suicide attempt, but prolonged. And here he is having attempted to take his own life, and still breathing, still alive, still bleeding, and now missing his love. Bear me, good friends, where Cleopatra bides. 'Tis the last service that I shall command you. Do not, good my friends, please sharp fate to grace it with your sorrows. Bid that welcome which comes to punish us, and we punish it, seeming to bear it lightly, take me up. I have led you oft. Carry me now, good friends, and have my thanks for all. Lots of love to you. It's great to see you. Goodbye.